Fly Fishing Insider Podcast is teamed up with Fly Fish Finder app to revolutionize your fishing adventures. Save time and unlock the ultimate experience with access to 55,000 trout streams, precise bridge data, thousands of trails, and detailed species locations. Elevate your angling with real-time maps, top camping spots, and connect with local fly shops for expert tips. This is only a little bit of what is available on the app. Discover all of it on the Fly Fish Finder app, another tool for getting better at catching fish anytime, anywhere, and for any species. Hey guys, welcome back to the Fly Fishing Insider. I'm your host, Christian. We've got John Schneider on the line today. And John, you were on the show a while back under Food and Field podcast. In fact, we talked a little bit about whitefish, how to catch them, and then also how to prepare them if you were going to go ahead and eat them, because sometimes we do take from a sustenance standpoint. So I thought that was a great show. A lot of people seem to really enjoy it because it's a little off color for us, but we're going to do that again because you started a new adventure. And you and I have stayed in touch ever since and become good friends. And I've always appreciated it, and it's been inspiring to me. But you started a YouTube channel called John Schneider's Wildlife. That's johnswildlife.com, or on YouTube, John Schneider's Wildlife. And I'll have that in the notes for you guys. But what's unique about it is you really kind of kickstarted your new life. And I don't want to lead into it too much because I want you to tell the story. But if you could tell right now, everyone, from looking at the video, John's living on a boat. Yeah. So it's a little bit different. But John, I'd love for you to kind of touch with me on how your adventure started and where you're at today.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you for having me, Christian. That was a good episode that we did about smoking whitefish. I think we were talking about. Yeah, we were smoking whitefish streamside, building a rock cairn along the stream. That was fun. I still do that. Yeah, well, thank you for having me on. I have led a life of, I want to say, adventure, an alternative lifestyle my entire life from the time I was young. I got out of university and did not want to follow the standard route of, becoming a lawyer and making a lot of money, doing that. I wanted to do something else with my life. And so came out of university, and much to the chagrin of my parents and people around me, I opened up the yellow pages and flipped through all the outfitters trying to find a gig being a fly fishing guide. Ended up very quickly guiding in the Arctic on Great Slave Lake. We were fly fishing I became like the fly fishing specialist as far as the guides went, and we were fly fishing for lake trout, which is really cool. I should tell you that story. I developed a lot of strategies for fly fishing shallow water lake trout up there. Arctic grayling, of course, in the Stark River. And then pike, which a lot of people fly fish for pike. But I mean, we're talking about, wheeling into this shallow bay that is littered with logs everywhere along. It's only 1.5 feet of, crystal clear drinking water. And there's all these logs laying on the floor, except they were pike. And they, big, like 30-pound northern pike. Anyways, did that for a number of years, evolved into the stage where I had my own outfitting company, and then met somebody, and we had kids and had to settle down and be home more, so I started working in the big city, and again, that was nothing that I was terribly interested in doing, so decided I wanted to start farming again. And nowadays, trying to start a farm from scratch that's tough. Had no land, no money to speak of to invest in a lot of equipment, and just an ongoing theme in my life is to keep things simple and start from basics and figure out that niche of things. And so that's what I did. I started with old antique farm equipment.
Where does that come from? Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. Well, money is, I think, a driving force. It's because I've realized that you can, here's my thing. If I can dream up something to do, right? And everybody around me says, you can't do that. But I can find one example of one person with similar capabilities to me who has done it, then I know I can do it. And it's just a matter of finding out how and having that drive and determination. And I'm sorry. I believe firmly, because I've proven it to myself time and time again, that with enough determination, you can literally do anything you dream of. And it sounds like such a cliche, but it is
No.
incredibly true to me.
Yeah,
And so,
it is true, and it's with a lot of things. I mean,
yeah,
I think reinvention isn't, or I should say, invention isn't always the answer, right?
no.
We think about a product, you're a product as a person,
Hmm.
and you think about, oh, the hot products are inventions, they're new things,
Hmm.
but more and more, it's just recycling.
Experience
Yeah,
or
like, hey, I don't have to reinvent the wheel here. It's been done before. Like, I can just use that
sure.
as a blueprint. There's a book about it,
Sure, and
right?
nobody's story is the same as Christian's, and nobody's
That's
story is
right.
the same as John. So I'm going to be able to provide value in people's lives. I'm sure, I know I do, when I just tell my story and go, here's what I know to be true. And so it just is incredibly easy, because I'm just
Yeah.
telling people what I know. And
I mean, fly fishing tactics are the same way, right?
right,
It's like,
sure,
oh, everybody wants the new, like, crazy fly that's going to just pull all the fish in. But you know what? The elk hair caddis has been working for a long time, and you could just do that again,
yeah,
right? Like, don't reinvent all the time. It's like,
yeah.
maybe go use some proven tactics.
Yeah. So I started a farm where we were just farming organic heirloom and ancient grains, and I bought a flour mill, and we were milling those grains into flour, and then
Hmm.
we just sold them direct to consumer, and I made a living doing that for 15 years. Built a farm literally from scratch, literally from a bare field of dirt, and a straw bale house. Again, something that I spent a
Hmm.
lot of time researching
Yeah,
and
tell
trying
us
to figure
about
out.
that.
Built a straw bale house, like 1,300 square foot straw bale house, that was so well insulated that we were spending $700 a year for heat and domestic hot water, because we heated it primarily with firewood and passive solar design. And so did that for a while. That entire adult journey of mine was spent with someone that I didn't really love, and that didn't really love me. And that
Hmm.
was a mistake. But, everything happens for a reason. I, I have two wonderful children from that. And so, it's hard to call it a mistake. It just is what it is. And so
Mm-hmm.
finally, one day last summer, after trying for years to make things better, and it was clear that it wasn't going to work, without fighting and caterwauling, without, you know, evil and any of these bad sort of feelings, I just said, yeah, I'm done with this. I'm going to live this dream that I have. I've had this dream of living on the coast since I was very young. We would do family vacations to the Pacific
Mm.
coast, and every time we'd come home, I'd be in tears in the back seat of the car, like knowing that I had to go back to Alberta. And so I've had this. We have friends and family that have moved to the coast, and I've always been so jealous of that, and I wanted to do that. Um, a lot of people might misconstrue that, though, as like, well, that's why you weren't in love, or that's why your marriage didn't break, and that's not true. I mean, I was happy with my life where I was, but you know, when things weren't working out, I defaulted back to that. I went, what do you really want to do? And it
Mm.
was easy. I want to live on the coast. Another thing that happened, though,
It
was
wasn't like you had six other alternatives. It was like, I got
no, I
one
got
thing
one.
I've
I
always
want
wanted to do.
I
Yeah.
want to live on the ocean. So then it was like, well, how? And again, in the interest of keeping things simple, I bought your listeners will appreciate this. I bought a book called Devlin's Boat Building back like 12, 15 years ago, where I wanted to build myself a plywood and fiberglass epoxy drift boat.
Mm.
And so it was a book on how to do it, stitch and glue, and the plans and whatnot. And within one of those chapters of that book, there was a picture, or a chapter on how to build a sailboat. And it had a little small cabin in it, and this guy was camping in this sailboat. And I was like, that was the light bulb for me, where I went, oh, you can live on a sailboat. And I don't know, sailboats are hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can never afford that. Except when I started researching them, it's like, no, they're 10,000, 15,000 for a nice 80s or 90s, smaller, like sub 30 foot production fiberglass
Right. Yeah, you're
sailboat.
not talking about a yacht or
No,
a
no,
top of the line sailboat where
no.
it's leather cushions and everything else. You're like,
Yeah, keep it
I want a
simple.
place to live,
Yeah,
not
keep
to
it simple.
vacation in.
Yeah. And so then through serendipity, I'd met somebody in the fall and we started hanging out together. And, she asked me on one of our first dates, what do you want to do with my life? And I said, well, I want to live on a sailboat on the coast. And I think that was the death knell for that relationship. But in the meantime,
Yeah.
she she had clued in on this story that she had of her dad owned a sailboat, and she knew where this sailboat was, and he had passed on. And she contacted the fellow that owned it, and he had just left it in disrepair. It was literally sinking at the dock when we
Mm.
found it last fall, and ended up getting it for like $1,500. And so it was a wreck. Like it was a train wreck. The motor didn't work.
It
The
was
electronics.
serendipity, but it was a wreck. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a wreck, which is perfect because I was just thinking the whole time, all right, I'm going to start this YouTube channel on changing my life and living on this sailboat. I've never sailed before in my life. I have no idea what's going on. But I have the capabilities through my farm life and previous existences. I know how to do diesel mechanics. I know how to do electrical work. I know how to do fiberglass work. I know how to
Yeah.
weld and repair crap. I know how to innovate things and build things. And so to me, having a project boat that I could now fix up and show that content was perfect. So I jumped on that opportunity to buy that boat and have been living on it since the beginning of December and have everything operational. I've sailed it a bunch of times now. And right now, where I'm actually recording this from is Blaine, Washington. So I've sailed
Okay.
down. The boat was purchased at Point Roberts, Washington, which is like 15 miles that way. So I've sailed over here to Blaine, the mainland of Washington, to meet a new friend. So, and
Okay.
yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'm living this life of living on a sailboat. But Christian, it was interesting. What happened next was that I was still sort of missing that. Well, what's the point? So I'm living on a sailboat. I want to do wild food. I want to fly fish for my food. I want to crab and forage. I can dive. So I've got dive gear on the boat. I want to be able to live more sustainably and simply with this life of wild food. Um, but okay, that's it. Like what? Like, am I just going to be this homeless dirtbag sailor that sails around the Pacific coast for the rest of my life, which is still pretty cool. But, the answer was no, I needed a purpose. And so the purpose became I wanted to sail back to my ancestral home of Scotland. Scotland, I don't know, you won't know this about me, and most people don't, but I'm starting to talk about it more. My name is actually John David Fraser.
Mm.
And I was adopted when I was a kid, and so I have the name Schneider, but my biological grandmother, I spent a lot of time with her as a kid, and like that whole house was Scotland, and my grandmother would go back to Scotland on a regular basis after my
Wow.
grandfather died, and so we have my Aunt June taught Highland dancing in the basement of my grandmother's house, and I just remember being fascinated by that. And so I've always had this deep connection to Scotland. I don't know if you seen the show Outlander?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well that's so Jamie Fraser. So that's that show. I get that he's fictional, but that show is based on all the historical figures and facts from the Inverness Valley of Scotland and the Fraser clan, of which I belong. And
Yeah.
so I'm actually I considered it back when I was 18, changing my name back to Fraser, and that didn't go over very well with my grandma Schneider. And so I didn't
Right.
do it. But now I'm thinking about it again. Like I just feel like that's my name. And so the plan now is to get to Scotland, by sail. And the journey starts here. So I want to teach myself to sail, which is an ongoing thing right now. I'm going to spend the summer sailing around the Inside Passage and the Channel Islands here off Washington and Vancouver Island, And then at some point in time, probably 1 year from now in the spring, I'll start heading south and make my way down the east coast of the United States, somehow across, maybe through the Panama Canal, although there's challenges with that nowadays.
Sorry, you'll go down the west coast and then
West
you're
Coast.
going to come across the canal to the east coast.
Yeah, did I say east
Yeah,
coast?
yeah,
Sorry.
you said east. It's okay.
West
That's
Coast, south,
okay.
and then make it through the Panama Canal into the Caribbean and up the eastern seaboard and across to either the Azores or Greenland, Iceland. That's a more treacherous route, so I don't know where I'll be at that point in time. But at some point in time, make my way over to Scotland. Maybe not in this sailboat. This sailboat is more of a coastal cruiser. It's a 28-foot Newport. Lots of people have sailed, transatlantic and transpacific crossings with this boat, but it's not quite set up for that. So
Yeah,
we'll see. I don't know.
Depending on where your skill set is and expertise and what you come across, right? I mean,
what risk I'm willing to take. Yeah, exactly. Which is high at this stage in my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the plan. After that, I don't know, but it's at least a 2, maybe 3 year journey to get to Scotland, and then along the whole way, I just want to meet people. I want to go down. Like, part of the channel is to meet you, and to meet other friends that I have along the way. Like, hey, I'm in this city or I'm in that city, and collect have a collection of stories of people and food, and places, and sailing adventure and all of these sort of things, and fly fishing, of course. So that's a huge part of my life, and that's what I'm doing.
Well, you'll be heading through a lot of good fly fishing waters on your journey, so it's going to be pretty awesome for you. How long have you been living on the boat?
Since December.
Okay, so you've had some winter months on the boat then.
Oh yeah. So in Point Roberts, Washington, it's immediate. It's like, what is it, like maybe a mile from the border, the Canadian border, south of Vancouver, Surrey, and Tsawwassen. And so at one point in time in January, we had, like, it was -12, and we had like a huge dump of snow, like over a foot of snow on the boat, and it was beautiful. So there's videos from this past winter that are pretty special. I've got a wood stove in the boat.
Okay.
Right there.
We're getting a tour here, guys. So if you haven't seen the YouTube channel, go to flyfishinginsiderpodcast.com and you'll be able to see some of this. But yeah, you got a wood burner. It looks like you got a little stove on top. Is that a
Yep. It's like a mini roaster. Yeah, it's
okay.
Well, anyways, it's good. It works well.
It heats up the boat nice and well for you. So you live in pretty comfortably for what? How many square feet do you think you live in?
Like 240 kind of thing.
Yeah, so you're definitely in that minimalist category of like, I got what I got and that's it, and what I need, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And it's a bit of an evolution at times too, Christian, because you're just trying to, winter clothes to summer clothes, for instance, right? You just don't have a lot of space to store a wardrobe on a small boat like this. So, it's a bunch of decisions on
I got a clean set of clothes and I got a dirty set of clothes.
Mostly dirty.
Yeah.
Mostly
they
dirty.
all become dirty set of clothes. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But you're enjoying it, right? I mean, so far, has it been more than you expected?
That's a good question. Has it been more than I've expected? I don't know how to answer that, bud. It's been what I've expected. I was expecting, I don't know, dude. No, it's less than I expected. I was expecting it to be extremely difficult, especially in the times when I first got here. I was overwhelmed. I'm like, how am I going to do this? Like, it was scary. I was like
It's funny, I remember that.
It was one bad mistake away from living under a bridge somewhere, right? Just being like completely homeless. And since then, it's settled down to where, no, this is cool. Like, whatever. I have a house that I can untie from the dock and go out into the Pacific Ocean, and a few days or weeks or months later, I can be somewhere completely different.
Yeah.
And my home hasn't changed. It's still my home. So to me, it's just fascinating. It is, yeah, I'm terribly excited. In some weird way, I wish I would have done this a long time ago, but I'm happy that I'm at the stage of life that I'm at. I'm 57 years old and feel fit and stronger than ever. Um, I'm bouncing around. Like it's really physical exercise to sail, especially
Hmm.
solo. You're at the helm, and then you have to be at the front of the boat, but you have to be there quickly because nobody's attending the helm. And so you're just up and down and pulling on lines and halyards and different things, and you're just, yeah. So, yeah, life is good, bud. Life is good.
That is good to hear, man. I remember reaching out to you when you were going through the worrisome phase,
Oh
right?
dear.
And I was going, hey, we're thinking of doing this. Would you want to do that? And you were like, now's not a good time. I don't know where I'm gonna be tomorrow,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And it was for real. Like, some people are like, now's not a good time, and you're like, they probably got to take the kids to soccer practice, But you were like, I could tell. I'm like, man, this guy's he's hunting for a living,
Oh, yeah.
literally.
Yeah, still
And
am to a large extent for sure. Trying to figure out the YouTube channel just got monetized too. So yeah, John Schneider's Wildlife on YouTube. So just yesterday, Christian, I got the notice that I'm fully monetized. Which
and
means
you did it in what, 8 months? I mean,
yeah,
that's incredible.
yeah,
So you got a good product. Your story's a good product, man.
yeah.
You
I
guys should.
hope so.
I'll remind everybody. Hey, go subscribe. Do us a favor. Do John a favor. He's a great guy. Watch the story. I mean, it's better than Alone on the Discovery Channel or whatever else because it's really, really real. Not a lot of rules. John Schneider's Wildlife.
Yeah,
John Schneider's Wildlife.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
so far in the channel too, Christian, I haven't really done the things that I want to do with the wild food. Like it's, as you mentioned, it's literally been trying to survive.
mhm.
And and then there's some tears when relationship ended, and mostly those tears though were out of fear, for like
Yeah,
all of a sudden I was really working without a net, right?
yeah.
And
Lots of anxiety,
oh
right?
boy, yeah, that was a rough time. Since then things have become much better. And in recent times, as of today, things have become incredibly better. So,
That's,
I've met somebody that I'm hoping is the one. It kind of feels that way. That I've been working on this relationship for a while now, so it feels like it's something magical. And who knows? Maybe there'll be two of us. Well, I suspect that there will be two of us here on the boat making that journey. And then yeah, I mean when I figure out that financial piece of the puzzle, then I really want to be able to focus on the fly fishing for my food. That's a huge thrust for me, is like, because everybody around here, well, not everybody, but most people around here are literally dropping lead weights
yeah,
behind the motorboat and touring around looking for fish, right? So I really want to focus on fly fishing for these lesser known species, sole and flounder and different things like that,
yeah, yeah.
surf perch and all sorts of different things that I want to try to figure out, rockfish and different things like that. So
Well, you're talking to the right guy. I went to Boston and did some striper fishing. We were fishing flounder, and they
nice.
started calling me the flounder pounder. I was hitting so many flounders.
Oh, good, dude. You can hook me up with some
Yeah,
tactics then for
yeah.
sure.
It was. I don't know what I was doing, but it was fun.
The flounder pounder.
It was pretty
Yeah,
hilarious. But
yeah,
yeah, man, I agree with you that to being able to make that transition and it feel like you said that you can rely on it, right?
yeah,
It's successful. That's a big change. That's a big
yeah. I mean, I
change.
say that the channel's monetized, but I mean, like what? Like
Yeah,
$10 a
couple
month?
cents.
Yeah, right.
Right,
So,
right.
whatever. There's a long ways to go from that. But, we were talking before we started recording about some of the different ways to deal with that. I mean, I do some writing. I've sold a few articles to Traditional Bow Hunter magazine. I haven't done a lot of fly fishing writing. But, I'm thinking about a book. I have an idea for a book with a bunch of short stories that I've already
Mm,
written. So to put
Okay.
those together into a form that would be relatable and valuable to people, maybe along with some wild food recipes at the end of each chapter or something like that, I have in mind.
Okay. And
You
then
know,
you have some you have Patreon page
yeah,
where it's either donations or you have behind the scenes extra footage, etc. So you got a couple avenues right now, and you're growing. So
yeah, yeah, just keep
it's going to
working at
come
it.
around, man. Just keep
Yeah,
working.
yeah, people will like the story or not. Most people tend to tell me that this is a great story. It provides, that's been a new thing for me too, where I'm getting these messages more like so often where you're such an inspiration. Like so many people are craving this change in their life. They now more than ever, I see people not wanting to settle for this prescribed notion of what to do with their life, and they're looking for ways to live more simply, or to be more
Yeah.
self-sufficient, or to live with less. And so yeah, it's good timing for me, I think, to try to live by example in that respect, right? I don't have It's embarrassing what my bank account is right now. And it's embarrassing what assets I do not have access to. We haven't finalized the divorce, but what the story that's missing from this that most people don't know about is that I made the conscious decision to not disrupt that asset. I've worked my entire life to generate a significant amount of wealth from that farm asset. And I just want to leave it intact for my son
Hmm.
and my daughter so that they can focus on building that farm business and have it be something for them that they can
Hmm.
be passionate about. So yeah, I'm literally left with the money that I had in my pocket and my old 2000 Ford F-150 that's rusting away, and the clothes on my back and the sailboat kind of thing. So it is a real story of struggle and emerge, kind
Yeah.
of thing. Eat what I kill kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. It's a real restart,
Ah, a hard restart.
mentally, physically, emotionally, economically. I mean, you go down the list.
Yeah, not easy. And, so I mean, having
What,
gone
what's
through all of this, that maybe I can, help people with ways to experience similar sort of things, but maybe a little more gently, right? So I feel like
Mhm.
I'm doing the extreme
Yeah.
where, other people, you don't have to be that extreme if you don't want to be. There's different levels of achieving the same thing that I have. So yeah, we'll see. Yep.
What have you done for yourself to get over some of those obstacles?
Oh, there's been some huge mental growth breakthroughs that I've had. A lot of it has come from my entire life has been spent hunting, for instance, like traditional bow hunting. That's incredibly difficult and not very successful. I've spent a lot of years guiding and outfitting, and being incredibly uncomfortable physically in harsh environments, mountaintops above tree line in the Yukon, and it, exposed, vast uh, seas of fresh water in the Northwest Territories on Great Slave Lake, in dangerous conditions. And so all of that, I think, has come together now later in my life to form um, some mental, some optimism or some philosophy of
Hmm.
life. So now I enjoy discomfort. I know that discomfort will not last forever. So I can be in an uncomfortable situation. I can be freezing cold or whatever it might be, or wet or uncomfortable. And I know that that won't last. And so what I do now is I prepare myself for that, and I enjoy that discomfort,
Mm.
because it will
Yeah.
just, I know that every minute of discomfort is 1 minute closer to comfort,
Yep.
and how good that will feel. And so now it's spun me around where I can enjoy the discomfort. I can look forward to it. And that is translated into mental discomfort as well. When I experience heartbreak, or when I experience, being broke, um, or being technically challenged with something that I can't figure out with the motor, or any number of
Yeah.
things, I know that that's not going to last. My experience tells me that things always turn around.
Yeah, it's not the end.
It is,
because that's your immediate thought is worst case, right? Like this is the
and
end.
it
This is
either
like
will be the end or it won't. And if it's the end, fine, I'm okay with that. It's the
but
end.
it's the end of that thing. It's not the end of everything.
Well, sure, but I
Right.
mean, you know, so yeah. So again, it just boils down to every minute of discomfort, every minute of sorrow, or every minute of depression. If I keep working at it, because I don't have the ailment, you know, I don't have the illness
Mm-hmm.
of depression, and that's a very real thing. So I'm not talking about people that have, you know, clinical depression. I'm talking about just generic sort of down
Yeah.
feelings because something bad happened. I know that won't last, and so I just endure it and I accept it for what it is. That it's coming closer to that joy. And here's the other thing that I think about is that I've discovered in my life, at least anyways, that the degree of discomfort or the degree of sorrow that I feel for anything will be equaled by the amount of joy I feel when things go right. So I've just spent years of being numb and being completely emotionally flatlined. Like 25 years, I was emotionally flatlined.
Hmm.
And that was causing severe depression because I had the same routine. I had the same sort of loveless marriage. I had the same just get stuff done, you know, without a lot of reward or, yeah, just there was no joy. There was no sorrow. It was just like Groundhog Day, you know, every day, right? Bill Murray, the
Mm-hmm.
old movie. And so, you know, that's the movie I think about most often when I think about my past life is Groundhog Day, where it just became this droning existence of
Yeah.
if it was joy all the time, you would quickly start to lose track of what was joyful. So now when I feel despair, or you know, or sorrow, I enjoy if it really hurts and it really stings, you know, something really affected me negatively, then that's good. That's a good thing because I know that it will be matched with a heightened level of joy here in a bit, whenever that is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would think
And
that's the biggest thing that I've done to sort of steel myself against disappointment is just expect it and realize that it's not forever. And that helps you with a lot of life's turmoils, I find, in my life
yeah.
anyways. So, yeah.
Have you ever heard of the story of the lobster?
Oh, you're going to tell it. I'm not going to go, yeah, I heard
Yeah.
that. But offhand, no.
Yeah. The story of the lobster is just what you had reiterated. So,
Oh,
you know, what when a lobster survives in the water, it's a crustacean. And in order for the lobster to grow, it has to go through a couple phases. And the first phase is its shell sheds its shell. And so it becomes this vulnerable little creature. And this vulnerable little creature does what? Protects itself. So it goes and it hides under a rock or some piece of substrate. And it sits there and waits. And it's super vulnerable because the crust isn't there. So it's this soft, jelly like creature that could be easily attacked. And it sits in there and it hides and hides. But before all that happens, that growth, right? Because it sheds that shell and that's what allows it to grow. It sits in its shell and it goes through pain after pain after pain in its own personal growth until finally that shell says
mm,
and opens up. And then the vulnerability comes out and then the growth actually occurs.
mm,
So it's a really cool story to kind of think about. And it's a
yeah.
lot like how we all work together, you know?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's very relatable. Absolutely. I hadn't heard that story before. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty cool. I mean,
I think
look,
it
you've
came
done some
across.
amazing stuff, John, and I
Yeah.
I I love it. I'm wishing you the best. I want to hear some more. Go ahead and tell me another adventure. What else has been going on the boat? I mean, you fixed the boat up, you launched a channel, you had some friends in social media that helped you in
Yep.
that arena.
Yep.
What about all this planning that you're doing now? Where are you at now? Like, hey, I got the
Mm.
boat, but what's next in your like perceived list of to-dos to get ready for this trip?
Yeah, there's a lot. So I've met this person, Dana, and she lives in Iowa of all places, and she has a wine shop there, and she has been experiencing a lot of the same things that I have, where she's just done with this old life and she wants this adventure. And she's grew up on the ocean. Her family's from San Diego, and she just saw what I was doing, and reached out. And at first it was just benign reaching out, and then we started chatting, and it's just really blossomed. It's this really kind of beautiful story that I'm excited about right now. And so that has both complicated and simplified things, where now this person, I hope, is going to be with me on the boat. What's next for me and the boat is Vie Sauvage, by the way, wildlife. And I need to get out of the US, for one thing, because I'm not a legal resident of the US. So I can only be here for 6 months. And so I need to get the boat back into Canada. Well, what's happening in Canada is that there is a severe shortage of moorage space. And so it's significant. It's a problem where you just can't find a place to park a boat. So I'm working really hard at trying to achieve that, so that I can be legal, I can get back to Canada, and then I can get to Iowa to help Dana, wrap up her life, and then we can get back to the coast here, and then we can start living this new life. And I think we've sort of ascertained that it will be on this boat for the foreseeable future. We're just going to learn how to sail well, I should say. I've learned how to sail, but I want to make sure that I experience a lot of different conditions, and
build your repertoire, right?
yeah, this is actually a really good place to do that. The Inside Passage has big open water. It has huge tidal flows,
Yeah,
currents. It
big
has
currents, swings
tide,
are substantial.
weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on around here. So for the most part, if you can sail in this area, you can sail anywhere. The only thing that might be missing from that is big, wide open water. But we can experience that by just going on the other side of Vancouver Island. So there's all of these things. Oh, that's the other thing I've done too, is I'm crewing on a racing yacht, Opus, and she's a bigger boat, 43 feet, an offshore racer, like a true blue water long distance racer. So crewing
Yeah.
on that boat is really helping me learn, um, you know, different
Yeah,
aspects of
all
sailing.
kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That is
Dan
really
and I
cool.
will actually crew on that boat together, and there's some trips that are planned for this summer on that boat, some races and different cruising events and things like that. So just immersing myself completely, in sailing and gaining that experience, so that we can begin this trek. And so there's a saying I like, which is the one thing that will get you killed on a sailboat is having a schedule. And so, yeah, it'll
It's like
cause,
backcountry skiing.
oh,
It's the
there you
same
go.
way.
Exactly. Yeah. So work the weather problem, not any other problem. Just
Yep.
the only thing that you need to concern myself with is weather. And so be smart about it. So what's happening right now with the boat is getting it um, voyage worthy. So electronics and communications upgrades. The motor's working fine. The sails are working fine. The boat is operationally fine, but I need navigational upgrades and other electronics. I need power upgrades because I'm going to run a YouTube channel. I need to be able to generate power and store it. So a lot of those components I'm already in possession of, and I just need to install them. So the channel right now is a lot about learning how to sail, and getting the boat ready for voyage, or up to voyage standards. And then that's about it. Really, this summer that will change. I share a love of wild food and cooking. I have a strong history of food and food preparation, cooking with fire and things like that. A lot of my friends are world-class chefs. I spent time being the president of a local chapter of Slow Food, and have spoken to large groups of people in Italy at Terra Madre, this huge food event. So food is very central to me, and it just so happens Dana is a trained chef and a sommelier, and
Yeah, I was going to say a sommelier, obviously, right? I mean,
so she owns this wine shop and knows cooking like amazing. So we have this shared passion for food, and so anyways, we shared diving experience. She was a recovery diver with was it Coeur d'Alene Police Department, Sheriff's Department. So she
okay.
dives and I dive, and so we're going to experience all of this wild food adventure type stuff coming up this summer. Once we get into Canadian waters, it's really going to kick into high gear. The food and the fishing and the food preparation and adventure travel. There's a lot of places to travel in this area and talk about that are sort of underrepresented as far as travel destinations go. So yeah, and we'll see what sticks. Like, I mean, is it resonating right now? It's resonating with women a lot because it's this romance story, but it's resonating with men because of the adventure travel and this leading a simplistic life. And I hope that it resonates with people that are passionate about food. And I don't know. It's just me. Everybody says like niche down, right? And then I go, well, I can't get more niche than me. So,
that's
right. That's what it is. Yeah.
That's right, man. Well, congratulations, John. You've got a lot going on. It's been awesome watching you over the past year. I mean, go from where you were to where you are now, and being part of that emotional roller coaster as a friend has been exciting for me as well, and relieving, inspiring, all those things. So I wish you the best. If you guys want to check out John, go to johnswildlife.com, or better yet, go check him out on YouTube and subscribe. That's John Schneider's Wildlife. All right, guys. John, so great to hear from you, man. I'm really excited that we got to do this show, and we're going to have to do another check-in here in the future and go from there, okay?
Well, for sure, man. Thanks for having me. And you got to get out to the boat somewhere so that we can maybe
That's the plan. The plan is
when we get out to the West Coast, you can show me your flounder slaying skills.
Yeah. Or I might meet you down in like Baja or something. We'll do some rooster fishing.
Oh, dude. Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for following. That's John Schneider's Wildlife. Go check him out. We appreciate you. We'll see you next week on the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. Fly Fishing Insider Podcast is teamed up with Fly Fish Finder app to revolutionize your fishing adventures. Save time and unlock the ultimate experience with access to 55,000 trout streams, precise bridge data, thousands of trails, and detailed species locations. Elevate your angling with real-time maps, top camping spots, and connect with local fly shops for expert tips. This is only a little bit of what is available on the app. Discover all of it on the Fly Fish Finder app, another tool for getting better at catching fish anytime, anywhere, and for any species.